Welcome to the video, guys. It's just a short one here to bring you a couple of clips from last night's daily briefing. That was an absolute disgrace for the BBC, Sky News and ITV, who came on there to question the Prime Minister, but instead decided to direct Dominic Cummings related questions towards the two civil servants standing there, namely Chris Whitty, the Chief Medical Officer, and the Chief Science Officer, Sir Patrick Vallance, who obviously didn't get involved. Now, Boris Johnson tried to tell the media that they should not be answering these sorts of questions, but they continued. In the end, Sam Coates of Sky News popped on there and asked a question that eventually Boris Johnson just let them answer, and they did so perfectly, completely ending the media's attempt to bring them into this blatant witch hunt. So I'm not going to bother talking about it anymore. The clips I have put together explain it perfectly and show what an utter disgrace the British media are.
Laura.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Durham Police have said this afternoon they would have sent Dominic Cummings home if they'd found him in Barnard Castle. If one of your most senior team wasn't paying proper attention to the rules, why should anyone else? And to the doctors, if I may, is that the kind of example that you want people to follow?
I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask Sir Patrick and Chris Whitty whether they fear that compliance with these rules will be reduced as a result of this.
First, a question to Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty. Are you entirely comfortable with the Prime Minister telling you that you can't answer questions about Dominic Cummings, and if you can't give a verbal answer, a nod or a shake of the head will suffice? And is there anything else the Prime Minister has told you not to answer on? And Prime Minister, today the launch of Track and Trace could mean that at any point you might get a call from someone on behalf of the government telling you to quarantine for 14 days. Can you tell the nation, is this a no ifs, no buts instruction that you must follow, whatever your childcare arrangements, however important you think your job is?
It's very important. Well, let me. Do you want to answer the first question by by semaphore or otherwise? Or
I can assure you that the desire not to get pulled into politics is far stronger on the part of Sir Patrick and me than it is in the Prime Minister.
That's for sure. Thanks.
Yes,
sorry.
I've got nothing to add. I mean, I'm a civil servant. I'm politically neutral. I don't want to get involved in politics at all.
Interesting to see the Prime Minister's response to the questions on the actions of his chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, taking the extraordinary move of stepping in and stopping the chief scientific advisor and the chief medical officer from answering questions on that. He was arguing that he was protecting them from getting embroiled in a political controversy, but I suspect others might argue that in doing that, the Prime Minister was perhaps restricting their independence.
I can assure you that the desire not to get pulled into politics is far stronger on the part of Sir Patrick and me than it is in the Prime Minister.
That's for sure. Thanks.
Yes,
sorry.
I've got nothing to add. I mean, I'm a civil servant. I'm politically neutral. I don't want to get involved in politics at all.
Now, I think you will agree Laura Kuenssberg, Robert Peston and Sam Coates are all an absolute disgrace. And let's not forget, at the end of that little compilation I showed you there, we had the BBC's political correspondent ignoring the fact that Sir Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty both said they don't want to be involved in the political spat. The political correspondent left that fact out when talking to the news anchor after the daily briefing had finished, which once again shows the complete and utter bias that is within the BBC, and I reported them to Ofcom for it. I suggest you do the same if you feel as I do. The questioning from the mainstream media outlets, namely Sky News, the BBC and ITV, was an utter disgrace and needs to be called out, otherwise they will continue doing it. Remember, they are going after civil servants here who, to my knowledge, are not allowed to get involved in political spats as per the Civil Service Code. And the media would have known that, they just didn't care. They had a story to push and obviously that was what they were going to do. This should be the end of it now though. That was their last attempt at utter desperation. You can tell how desperate they are when they have to resort to those sorts of tactics, which they know is low-life behaviour, but they are bottom feeders as we all know. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.